Today is a battle of Google Pixel 6 versus Pixel 7. Is it worth the upgrade? Let's go to work.
Look, my line, I get ready.
Let's start with color profile and saturation, and honestly, before going to this test, I don't think there will be a marginal difference between the two phones, and that is expected. This is like a color science of Google, one of the best, if not the best on a smartphone. The colors are great, not too saturated like iPhone and Samsung, but it is well balanced with that high dynamic range look. I shot a lot of photos with highlights and Google never clips them, exposure is good too on darker areas, and just the overall feel. I feel like the photos are coming from a Google phone. Looking quickly at both phones, Pixel 6 has 50 megapixel main sensor with dual pixel face detection autofocus, laser autofocus, and optical image stabilization, and also another 12 megapixel ultra wide with 114 degrees view. It has a mediocre 8 megapixel selfie, which may be a Waterloo for this phone, and being processed by Tensor chip Gen 1. Well, there's a slight upgrade on Pixel 7a, still has 50 megapixel main sensor, but with multi-directional face detection autofocus, same laser autofocus and OIS, same 12 megapixel ultra-wide with same field of view, but the selfie camera is now 10.8 megapixel that can shoot 4K video. The images and videos are being processed by the newest Tensor chip Gen 2, and I should say even the performance is slightly better than Pixel 6. And checking all three sensors from the ultra-wide, wide, and even the 2x crop, colors are consistent.
Watch yourself, huh? You make it look good.
This is the audio test of these two phones. Both phones have speech enhancement. Speech enhancement on Pixel 6 can only be activated on Full HD 30 FPS. I cannot enable it on the 4K video recording, while Pixel 7 has speech enhancement on 4K video recording. How's the audio of these two phones? Leave your comment below. This is the active stabilization on Google Pixel, the competition of Super Steady and Action Mode on iPhone, and Pixel 7 can shoot Quad HD 30 FPS and noticeably sharper. This is the regular video on Pixel 6, there's no cinematic video. And this is Pixel 7 with cinematic video, and this mimics the portrait video of Samsung and the cinematic mode of iPhone. This is the slow motion 1/4, and as you can see, Pixel 6 is brighter and controlling the noise better. Well, this is super slow motion or 1/8, and both phones looks identical on this mode. Let's talk about flaring, and both phones are doing a really good job in controlling this, but there's a slight difference. I feel like Pixel 7 in most situations will manage the flaring better, and just looking at the 2x digital crop, you will see that the sun rays are really flattering on Pixel 7. And even exposure from the regular shot in most situations, Pixel 7 is slightly brighter than Pixel 6. Not a whole lot of difference, but nitpicking on these two phones, Pixel 6 is slightly darker. Highlights is also identical on both phones because of the computational photography. It takes a good seconds for Pixel 6 and Pixel 7 to take a shot, and that results in a better control on highlights on strong light source. In terms of close focus or macro shot, both phones doesn't have macro capability, and you might need to buy a separate macro lens, a third-party lens, to make this work. Although you can also crop in, and that's the best thing you can do. There's also an inclusion of macro focus on Pixel 7 and Pixel 7 Pro, but that's only on video. And since both rear cameras have the same sensors, sharpness from the ultra-wide and wide will be the same, and even zooming in on the digital crop, sharpness is almost the same. And also, since both phones are using identical 50 megapixel sensor and using pixel binning technology to output 12 megapixel, the details on both of these phones are identical. They cannot shoot 50 megapixel RAW, so you're stuck with a regular 12 megapixel image. Now let's quickly check the side-by-side comparison of the video stabilization of both phones in 4K 30 FPS video recording. We are starting the stabilization test using the ultra-wide sensor, and both phones has identical 114 degrees field of view, and both has 12 megapixel resolution. And this is the main sensor, again, identical 50 megapixel sensor. I think they're using the same sensors, and the only difference is the autofocus. The newer Pixel 7 is using multi-directional face detection autofocus. And this is the digital crop from the 50 megapixel sensor, and because it's cropping more, the stabilization has a little bit of wiggle room to stabilize the footage. The main sensors of these two phones are identical. Google stuck with the 50 megapixel that was used on Pixel 6. What Google added is a software manipulation and the wider field of view, but in terms of image quality, these two phones will perform the same. Pixel 6 was released on October 2021 with dual camera setup that can shoot 4K recording on the rear camera. It is also paired by the first generation tensor chip, but with the mediocre selfie camera that can only shoot full HD video. While Pixel 7 is almost 1 year old but still the current flagship for the next few months, it is the identical 50 megapixel main shooter, but paired with a second generation tensor chip and a selfie camera was upgraded to 4K video recording. And although the battery size was downgraded from the previous generation, a lot of online tests suggest that Pixel 7 is better than Pixel 6 in battery life. Pixel 6 is more affordable than Pixel 7, but with all the upgrades, who do you think is better? This is the selfie video recording on both phones, and again, Pixel 6 can only shoot full HD, while the newer Pixel 7 can shoot 4K and the field of view is a little bit wider. What I like about Pixel phones is the portrait mode, and I noticed beginning Pixel 6, they changed the way how it looks. From Pixel 5 down to the OG Pixel, normally the face feature has more details into it, but now they made it smoother, and let's say Google is putting a little bit of retouch on the portrait mode. The subject separation is not as perfect as a proper camera, but if you're just looking on a smaller screen like a smartphone, you wouldn't know the difference. Also, the skin tone is a bit on the warmer side, so this is more inviting than, let's say, a Samsung portrait mode. And looking at the selfie camera, it shoots the same kind of image. The 0.7x of Pixel 7 might be a little bit wider than Pixel 6 and may be useful for group shots. Night shot or night mode is also great on Pixel phones, though I feel like they no longer have the best night shots in the business, but still, one of the top night shots you can have on a smartphone. Pixel 6 and Pixel 7 tends to shoot natural looking night shots, not overly saturated, also in a warmer side. But I think if you punch in on these photos, although they have the same 50 megapixel sensor, you would see that Pixel 7 is definitely sharper than Pixel 6. But again, overall, if you look at the quality of the images on both phones, night shots are almost the same. And lastly, the low light video, 4K 30 FPS. Both videos are noisy and the only difference I can see is the color of the sky, a bit bluer on the older Pixel 6. Take a look. So this is the ultimate shootout of Pixel 6 versus Pixel 7. The new Google Pixel 7 is definitely an upgrade. You could see that the selfie camera now shoots 4K video, the active stabilization is also better at Quad HD and sharper, speech enhancement is also activated in 4K video, and the cinematic video could be useful at times. Well, if you're owning the older Pixel 6, I don't think there's enough new features you would expect from the camera. And if the new Pixel 7 and Pixel 7 Pro is the baseline of Google's flagship image quality, you're not missing much if you're using the older Pixel 6. And there you go, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll continue to compare these two phones, maybe the next Pixel 8, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one.